Is that Glock? Oh no!
Well, I'm tripping major nutsack right now.
Oh, send it!
Welcome to the world of winning.
Hello and welcome back to another edition of the Switchback Formula One podcast. My name is Graham, and joining me, as always, it's Mr. Sunday. It's Luke Holmes.
Hi, Graham. How are we
Hi,
doing?
Luke.
Hi.
What's going on?
Not much. I'm feeling very orange this week.
Orange, you
Any
glad
ideas why?
for that?
Yes, I am.
We were recording in the aftermath of the Dutch Grand Prix, one which was won by Max Verstappen in front of the Orange Army, as they, I believe they refer to the Orange Army with a J.
Yep, they are. Yes, Oranje.
So Verstappen taking his home Grand Prix ahead of Lewis Hamilton and Valtteri Bottas, rounding out the podium, followed home by Pierre Gasly, Charles Leclerc, Fernando Alonso in 6th, Sainz in 7th, Sergio Perez recovering from the pit lane to 8th place, Esteban Ocon finishing 9th, and Lando Norris rounding out the top 10 for the points finishers. We'll get to the action from Zandvoort, but first it was a busy week of F1 news, and the big news really coming in the week, that confirmation, I think, of what we've kind of known and kind of speculated for a while. Kimi Raikkonen taking to social media to announce that the 2021 season was going to be his last in Formula One. Were you ultimately surprised that this announcement came? I certainly wasn't myself. Did you? Was any shocks about it?
No, not really. I was more surprised at the timing of anything, to be honest. I thought, I said it last week in the podcast, that it was going to be at the Monza Grand Prix. They'll announce it there, and then Bottas will slot into place, and they'll do it all in one go. But no, Raikkonen did it, I think it was Tuesday or Wednesday night, at like 7 o'clock, and that was completely out of the blue in terms of the it being of the timing. But the actual announcement itself, I think it's been overdue, I think, this season. I think Kimi seemed to have dropped back a little bit this season compared to last season, where he was actually pretty all right.
According to Raikkonen, he said that the decision was taken at the end of last year / the beginning of this year. So based on that, he was always entering this season to be his last. So ultimately though, there'll be plenty of time, and I know we'll do it for a week, and after the season's over, I'm sure there'll be plenty of time to talk about Raikkonen, as his career, best moments, all that kind of stuff. It's something I'll be very excited to do, but there's another time to do that. For the moment though, it's the first domino that needed to fall in order to get the rest of this chain of kind of events moving that we know is coming. So Raikkonen obviously vacating one seat leaves very much the door open now for the rest to follow suit. And I'm talking about Valtteri Bottas to be confirmed at Alfa Romeo. That is basically a done deal, public knowledge essentially, that is where it's going to be happening. That of course will allow George Russell then to move to Mercedes. I'm sure that's how the timing of the announcements will work. They'll probably announce Bottas first, and then Russell then to Mercedes at some point very soon. Fred Vasseur is saying people will know Alfa Romeo's at least one of their lineups within, or at least one of their drivers within 2 weeks, I reckon. As you say, probably come sooner than that. So in terms of then obviously looking towards the next driver movement, what are you expecting, and when are you expecting it?
I'm expecting the next one to be next week, obviously, like we just said, but the one after that, I'm thinking probably talking USA time. It's going to be a long time, because there's a lot of stuff that can go off. Someone could prove themselves, i.e. Giovinazzi, Latifi, or something could go against them. You never know.
So basically,
but more than likely not.
Yeah, so like a lot of we've chatted for a while about Alex Albon, and we've mentioned Nyck de Vries here and there, and it seems like those two are almost shoo-ins for F1 drives, although De Vries is a little bit more on the edge, because I've got a story from race fans. Toto Wolff is in quote 2 minds end quote over placing Formula E champion De Vries in Formula One. So I'll give the quote from Wolff. Again, this is via race fans, Dieter Renken and Keith Collentine, if you weren't familiar with who runs operations over there, but Nyck is a Mercedes driver in Formula E, and he's won the Formula E World Championship and helped us to win the Constructors World Championship, and he's an extremely important member of that team, said Wolff. I admired his decision back in the day after winning the F2 title to say, I want to be a part of a works team, and that's why I'm joining Mercedes in Formula E, rather than running behind the dream in Formula 1. Now the time has come that people recognise his talent and his ability, and therefore those talks are beginning to take, and therefore those talks are taking place. But for us, most important is that he stays within the family. I don't want to lose him at that stage for another Formula E championship, but I wouldn't block him for F1. So, and he goes on to say, he says, Nyck has a guaranteed seat in Formula E with us, and I'm in two minds. As I said before, I wish him to be in Formula 1, but I don't want to lose him from our Formula E campaign. Thoughts on those comments from Wolff? I think that came on the 3rd of September, so that came on Friday.
I did not know about this, but that's very interesting. So Toto's in two minds. That's a bit of a surprise to me, because I thought with what was said about Albon being a Red Bull driver in a Mercedes supplied team in Williams was a no-no. So for me, that sort of says that Toto's open to the idea of Albon taking that Williams seat.
Well, moving on to Albon himself, it seemed to pick up traction of that seat, seemed to pick up this week that he was actually looking towards Williams rather than maybe Alfa Romeo. And at first, obviously, look, Williams are powered by Mercedes. They use Mercedes gearboxes. There's a long-term agreement in place. I believe Ted Kravitz on Sky Sports mentioned possibly 2026, 25, 26 in terms of that. It's a long-term partnership anyways. So, and obviously they have had a Mercedes junior driver for, this is season number 3 of that running in place. And of course, Valtteri Bottas was under the consultation, I believe, of Toto Wolff and his management before Bottas moved to Mercedes. So back in 2017. So obviously the connection there goes back obviously for quite a while. And initially we had Toto Wolff saying that he wouldn't block Albon moving to Williams, and then ended up basically saying that as he can move, he's free to join Williams, but he has to no longer be part of the Red Bull family. And what were your thoughts on kind of the the back and forth on Albon's situation, which is just getting more and more confusing?
It's just petty, isn't it? Just let him have his chance at the end of the day. If he's backed by a Red Bull, then it is what it is. I don't think Toto can really argue. If Williams decides to take on the Albon as it is, then I don't think Toto can really say anything, saying that he's basically throwing Bottas out the team. If that was me, if I was Toto, I'd be pushing Bottas to go to Williams to keep that good ties with them going. But I don't know. It's a strange one.
The quote, again, I'm reading from Race Fans, is with Albon, as I said yesterday, this is from Toto Wolff, he's a driver that deserves his seat in Formula 1, but it's tricky to have a 100% Red Bull driver on a Mercedes power unit. So happy to work with him as long as they let him free from his Red Bull contract. And again, just mentioning De Vries again, he said, so there's we are supporting Nyck De Vries, obviously, and he's talks to Williams to get the seat there. So there's quite some balls in the air. And Red Bull and Christian Horner indicated that they were looking, they could release Albon to secure him an F1 spot next year. The quote from Horner: "We want to see him race, so we'll accommodate wherever we can to ensure that he's back in a race seat next year. There's always obstacles, but he's a lad that deserves an opportunity in Formula 1 next year, and we're doing our best to try and help him achieve that." So, look, I know much was made of Wolff and the such in his comments, but it seems like there's a bit of give from both sides here to try and make something happen for Albon, who everyone agrees, and Wolff himself also, that he is deserving of a Formula 1 seat.
Yeah, but there is about 15 other drivers I can think of that are also deserving of an F1 seat in that same regard. So, but yeah, I think he deserves a second chance, though. Out of everybody, there is a space for him to show what he can do, really, isn't there?
I could see this breaking down like this. Look, Nyck De Vries, I think it seems more and more likely that Williams are going to retain Latifi for next year. I could see a situation developing where, because we know Mercedes are pulling out Formula E, or at least they're removing the Mercedes brand from Formula E. Whether another operation takes place over for them, who we'll see. But we know that next year, they're pulling the Mercedes name from Formula E. I can't help but wonder perhaps they might leave De Vries in there, but on the guarantee essentially that he will have a Formula One race seat for the following year, which would be 2023, would be my potential thought on that.
Him or Versti, I'm guessing, depending on how Versti progresses. I'm pretty positive he's going to go to F2 next season. If Versti wins F2, which is not going to happen, I'll be very surprised if he does. Then that, unless Latifi wins the championship or something, then I see Latifi getting the boot, and that being a Mercedes junior seat from that point onwards, and then Albon being a Williams driver on his own.
I do want to push back on something that Toto Wolff said about Nyck de Vries. I don't really think it was de Vries' choice to not be in Formula One. It's just that 2019 F2 crop was just not good enough. I know Latifi made the jump from 19 into 22 from F2 to F1, but we all know that was for financial reasons rather than the best driver making the move up. So I just don't think any of that grid was good enough at that time to make the jump to F1. I push back on the notion that de Vries landed in a great spot in that Mercedes Formula E group.
Yeah.
But I disagree with the notion that he had an F1 opportunity ahead of him. And I don't think
the test driver, yeah, sure.
So
I don't rate him, so
I don't know. I liked him in F2. I wasn't mad. I don't think he's massively champion material. I know he won the championship in a rather hollow year for F2, and the competition was not great. I would love to see what he could have done against the 2020 crop. Really would have, I think, cemented his credentials a little bit more than what he did in F2 in 2019. Like, congratulations, you beat Nicholas Latifi to win an F2 championship. That is almost stick 2020 Callum Ilott into that grid, and I think he romps away with that championship. And you can say the same for Tsunoda, and even I'd argue Mazepin.
The top six,
yeah, pretty much.
The guys that were fine at the front in that championship would easily walk it, all of them.
So look, does he deserve a shot? I mean, maybe,
I guess. But in the same regard, I've not seen anything on Piastri at all, which is absolutely baffling.
Yeah, I've got plenty of things to say about F2 and drivers later on, for sure.
Just based on the fact that if he could be a double back-to-back champion and there's not even a link there or a rumour at all, that's mind-blowing to me. But sure, we'll save it for another one.
Yeah, no, we'll bring it back up later because it was one of the things I wanted to talk about later on. But just keep things moving along. Giovinazzi obviously is under a lot of pressure too. Obviously, Raikkonen we know is on the way out. It seems to be the case that Giovinazzi is on the way out too. He did qualify P7 over the weekend, and again, the qualifying has never really been the issue for Giovinazzi, and what happened on Sunday's race wasn't really his fault, as he basically I think he had a good chance for 10th, didn't he? And then puncture kind of derailed him.
Yeah. By the way, that qualifying was very under the radar. He was only half a tenth off the Ferraris.
Yeah.
Do you know how good that is in a car that's been ninth fastest all season? Most of the time
in qualifying,
in the race,
perhaps,
and stuff, and qualifying. That's pretty good.
It's good. I just don't think it's enough to save his seat. I think that decision has been made.
Yeah, he's way past his sell-by date, but I'll give credit where credit's due. That was brilliant.
Yeah,
absolutely brilliant.
Sadly, it didn't result in any points, but we think Giovinazzi, I think, is on the way out too. So again, it's the second Alfa Romeo seat we're kind of talking about with Albon or De Vries and this kind of thing. I'd have to say it would be an odd turn of events to see De Vries in a Alfa Romeo, but that's just me.
Yeah, I can't see that. I said that to you the other day. I can't see him or Albon at Alfa Romeo, to be honest.
Yeah,
don't know why. It just doesn't. I don't know. They don't. I see them in them colours, and it just doesn't sit right with me. I see someone else who's already been wearing them colours in that seat a lot better. In fact, two people in them colours.
Are you referring to?
I'm referring to Mr. Ilott and Mr. Teo.
Yeah. Speaking
They're the
of
two for me.
Speaking of, as much as Raikkonen announced his retirement, Alfa Romeo had to announce that he'll be missing the Dutch Grand Prix after testing positive for COVID-19. So our first driver to drop off the grid this year with a COVID-related absence. It took until September. I think that's pretty decent, all things considered.
Yeah. And did we say in the preseason predictions we'd get one?
I think so. I think we said at least
we did.
one.
Yeah. So this also meant that he had dinner with the Williams team principal, didn't he, the night before? So he also had to isolate. But because of Dutch laws, they don't have to get tested. They don't have to isolate, but they did anyway. It's very weird how it was operated from what I read.
So, and the timing of this was absolutely brutal for reserve driver Callum Ilott, who I believe is over in the States getting ready for some IndyCar running.
He was at Nürburgring.
Oh, he's at Nürburgring
this weekend, reserving for something else, I believe. Yeah,
absolutely brutal. I feel for the poor chap so badly, like in every sense. He was just as
deserving. See what he put on Twitter?
No, what did he say? I didn't see this.
He put "just my luck."
Yeah, honestly,
and just left it at that.
Honestly,
I was devastated. I saw the announcement when I woke up Saturday morning. I was like, "Yes, Callum's in," and then I scrolled down. And I think it was Chris Medland tweeted that Robert Kubica's favourite to take over the seat as he's with the team this weekend. I was like, oh, for God's sake. I don't mind Kubica, but I wanted to see what Callum could do.
Yeah,
in that car.
Would have been a great audition for him had he been able to step in. But I feel for the chap, I really do. We've talked about it a lot, like how he was just as deserving as Schumacher for an F1 seat.
If not more.
Yeah, arguably. I really thought he was the best driver. I think I thought he was the quickest driver in F2 last season. Again, we've talked at length about the F2 season last year, and ultimately Schumacher deserves his spot on the grid too. But like we talked about the luck with that, and the luck that doesn't seem to be in contention for the Alfa Romeo seat this year, next year, despite having done numerous FP1 sessions and being that reserve driver and just not being there on the weekend when he was needed. I feel for the chap. He's just just hasn't had a lucky break, has he?
No, and if anyone's deserving of a seat, it's him. Like, to me, stuff De Vries, stuff Albon, give Callum a chance. He deserves it, man. He really does.
Yeah, it was. So look again with De Vries, as Wolf said, it could be up in the air. So maybe there's still an opening there, perhaps.
Fingers crossed.
I know. It seemed to be a little bit of chatter, and I listening to F1.com's Will Buxton and Lawrence Barretto discussing prior to the weekend that Guan Yu Zhou seems to be in a kind of another driver emerging for that Williams seat as well.
Yeah, he was one that I'd said a few weeks ago that he was being talked about, but we've both said I think he goes Formula E.
Yeah, I still think so.
I think I think that's his path, and then probably if something happens with Alonso 2022, 2023, might get called up type thing to Alpine. We'll never know.
Yeah, but anyways, that's what we almost 20 minutes and we haven't actually touched the actual Grand Prix. I don't think there's any other major news from the week that we need to discuss before we bring up the Dutch Grand Prix.
No, it was just the fact that Ilott was going to be doing a race in IndyCar. That was the end of the thing, which was going into before I interrupted you.
No, I interrupted. It was me. It's okay. I interrupted you.
It's always you, Graham. If it's not you, it's Mr. Kieran Trapp.
Shouts.
You won't get that reference, guys. But yeah, GTA sessions.
Friend of the show. Anyway, let's move on to the Dutch Grand Prix though, and we'll jump into winners and losers. I think easiest way to break down a Grand Prix weekend. Obviously, look. Max Verstappen retaking the championship lead from Lewis Hamilton. The gap at the end was 20 seconds, but I don't think that begins to reflect how closely pushed Verstappen was all weekend long.
Yeah, that's bizarre. We say he was pushed all race long, but then Lewis came out afterwards and said that was the biggest advantage Red Bull have had all season.
It's just not true.
Sorry, was he at Styria?
It's just not true.
It's just not. There was times in that race where I thought to myself, "Oh my God, Lewis is actually going to get past here. He's closing rapidly." But no, to be fair to Max, he absolutely aced the entire weekend and even outqualified Lewis without DRS. Hashtag eat that.
Quite a scruffy Q3. Both laps of Q3 were not particularly fantastic, and obviously you mentioned the DRS kind of fault that he had. He wasn't even aware of as he was setting the lap, and still improved marginally over his initial Q3 time, which again was. It seems like a bit of wind that kind of picked up because both cars coming out of just before they head into the second to last corner, the back end's really stepping out. They had to get them under control. Seemed like the wind picked up a little bit with May of Kyle Russell as well during Q2.
Yeah, it was very, very, very understeery. let's say the least on Verstappen's on board from what I saw on the world feed.
Verstappen, though, I thought he drove an excellent race. I'd say the pressure he must have felt. F1's return to the Netherlands, first time since 1985, I believe.
Yeah, when Niki Lauda won.
His final race win, I believe, for the late great Niki Lauda. But the amount of pressure, because this has been coming for a while, F1's kind of return to Holland. And honestly, I thought Verstappen handled it so well because the pressure, I'd say, must have been absolutely immense.
It just doesn't show pressure, does it? Doesn't look like he is ever under pressure at all. I've not seen one slight crack ever from Max. It's unreal, and he's 23. To me, it blows my mind how he deals with stuff like that. Like how many fans were there this weekend?
70,000, I believe.
And I'd say 60, at least 60,000 of them were all Verstappen fans. All of them. It was just pure orange everywhere.
Yeah, honestly, it was just really, really impressive. He's got such a mature head on his shoulders. Obviously, he's very experienced despite being 23 years old. And what did you think of the Orange Army? Because the atmosphere there looked, I can't recall. I know Silverstone has, they show out for their British drivers, but that was what we saw at Zandvoort. I thought was just incredible in terms of support and atmosphere. They were really fired up for this, as you would probably expect.
I think it was a level above anything we've ever seen.
I think so. The only thing that could come comparatively close would be the Tifosi at Monza. Basically, would be the next closest thing, I would imagine, when Ferrari are up there and firing. I think back to 2019.
Yeah, and then for me, the other one is Perez at Mexico.
Yes, I was thinking that too.
In the stadium section. Mm-hmm. In that stadium, just that stadium section, not everywhere else, but they do give him a good backing. To say he's only one driver, and when he was in a midfield team, the support was unreal for Perez. But I think every pundit I saw a quote from said this was the best atmosphere they'd ever experienced at any race they'd ever been to. It makes me want to go because I'm sure we're going to get another Dutch Grand Prix.
Sure definitely. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah. Did you? I'm pretty sure I saw a TikTok earlier on in the weekend, and it was like 8 a.m. and they were just blasting out music. 8 a.m. and that probably didn't stop until 10, 11 o'clock at night.
Probably not, given they had lots to celebrate.
Yeah, they were just constantly on the grid. I saw it on the grid for F3 this morning. You could hear it in the background. Saw it on the grid for F1 as well. Unreal. They got Tiesto on the deck.
Big man Tiesto was bopping.
Yeah, he waved the checker flag as well, didn't he? So
the two-handed checker flag wave, very slow.
Yes.
But just going back to Verstappen, again, it was close. I thought he handled. Obviously, they left Bottas out long. You'd figured that Mercedes, with their two cars up there, were going to try something. They left Bottas out long. We know how difficult it is to overtake around Zandvoort. I thought Verstappen did a really good job handling that situation. It also actually reminded me, do you remember when Rosberg had to get by Verstappen, actually, funnily enough, himself in Abu Dhabi 2016? It's had little shades of that in terms of just how important that move was to make.
If he didn't make that move, then that's a race-ending move, because no doubt Mercedes would have pit Lewis again. If Max got stuck and then Lewis closed up, Mert would have 100% pit and undercut, and then Red Bull would have had to have pit again because Max wouldn't have been able to get past and make them tyres last the entire rest of the race. Not a chance.
I'll give this to Mercedes, though. They gave it absolutely everything. They tried strategies to unrattle. They threw strategies to try and rattle Red Bull. They did the two-stop, and when most of the grid actually ended up doing the one-stop in the end. So they did try everything they could. Hamilton was... I don't think he was... Was he ever trailing by more than 5 seconds? Other than, of course, the very end.
No, he didn't go above 4 or 5 at all.
They pushed them all the way. I think there's nothing. Hamilton and Mercedes, I think, drove a good race. They just didn't have it in the end to get close enough for an overtake. And even when Hamilton did, because he did close within DRS with Hamilton when Verstappen was trying to overtake Bottas, but very quickly
That was the only point, wasn't it?
Yeah, pretty much. Like Verstappen, it did come close. There was a point where he kind of dipped down to like 1.2 or so, 1.5.
That was traffic, though, I believe. So
yeah, traffic, as we kind of expected, was a bit of an issue at various times. Race day in particular, the ebbs and flows of it, because when Hamilton came out of the pits, he ended up falling by 3 or so seconds behind, and then within the lap that Verstappen caught Bottas. I know it's different kind of traffic when it's the car in front of you fighting for a position, but closed off extremely quickly.
Yeah. For me, I don't think they could have done anything else apart from maybe put a roadblock in and tried to stop him that way. That was the only thing that was going to stop Max from winning that race. I think he was faultless. And to be fair, Lewis was pretty much faultless as well.
Yeah.
He did absolutely everything.
Yeah, and that's why I think Mercedes can hold their head up relatively high. I know there are some question marks about, they released Hamilton into some like 3-car lap traffic for their second undercut attempt, which just allowed Red Bull to easily respond. But look, I think they had to try something. They may as well have tried something. It didn't work. I think they played things as well as they could have in their position. Hamilton gave it his all and pushed Verstappen all the way.
They took the kitchen sink at him and more, didn't they? And they just didn't do a damn thing.
And eventually Mercedes pitted Hamilton late to get the fastest lap, which after the thought of Bottas have robbed it on him.
That whole debacle was hilarious. I saw Bottas go in purple sector 1, then it popped up purple sector 2. I was like, wait, is he actually going for it? Because at that moment, Lewis had still got the fastest lap. And then it popped up, Bottas had set a new track record. I was like, wait, what? Because James Vowles came over the radio and was like, Bottas, we need you to slow down because Lewis needs the championship point. And to be fair to Bottas, he did back off, but he still ended up taking the fastest lap. But it was still hilarious.
Do you think that's the last Valtteri, it's James kind of message we're going to get? Or do you think it'll be one more for the memes in Abu Dhabi?
Russia, 100%. Bottas will be winning in Russia. Mercedes stronghold in Russia. And then Bottas will be winning basically winning his first race. And then James will come over the radio and be like, right, and this is 2017, 2016? 2017, I want to say.
With his first race win.
Yeah, we need you to move aside and let Lewis through for the championship. Let me pass for the championship.
I think that was 18.
Yes, that was it.
So I reckon we'll get one for the memes in Abu Dhabi. Valtteri, it's James. Thank you for everything you've done over the last five years. I think we'll get one more.
Lewis's bitch. Yeah.
We'll get one more, I think. But look, Verstappen takes, just to move back to Verstappen, he takes a 3-point lead now. He retakes the championship lead, 224.5 points over Hamilton's 221.5 points. So taking back that championship lead, I think he is deserving. I'm not sure if this is the last time the lead will change in this championship, but look, it's so close. Like regardless of what side of the fence you're on, with Verstappen or Hamilton, this championship has been a trip so far.
Yeah, that's 6 out of 7 poles in the last 7 races for Verstappen, and then he's not been outside the top 3 in qualifying. ridiculous all season.
Yeah, he's been super consistent. And the other thing now that he did over the weekend, he now moves. This is win number 5 for him this season, I believe.
Yes.
And he's now on 17 wins, which puts him as the driver with the most victories in F1 without a world championship. He overtook Sterling Moss for that honour, who had 16 wins.
Mad. He also did 1,000 laps red.
He did. He needed 9 was the magic number to begin Sunday, wasn't it?
And he got 72.
70, I think, with Bottas.
Oh no, Bottas, yes. But he got at least over 60. Either way.
Do you remember at the start of the season, I brought attention to this, that Verstappen's place on the all-time F1 wins. He had 12, I believe, if 5 is correct. And talked about, look, if he wins 6, 7, the kind of company he would jump himself kind of up to with the way his trajectory, if the Red Bull had given him a car. He's got 17. He's 17th all-time in wins. Here's a bit of F1 trivia for you, or I guess a trivia quest. Who is next on the F1 all-time wins? I'll give you a hint. It's the next number is 20.
Yeah, I want to say Kimi. I don't know why. But I've got a feeling Kimi's like 25.
So this next one's 20. Retired driver, champion. Has raced.
How recent retirement we're talking?
20 years ago.
20 years ago? And he's a champion.
He's a 2-time world champion.
Oh, God. Oh, he's a 2-time champion.
He's a 2-time champion. These championships came in the 90s.
Mika
Hakkinen, yeah, 20 wins. And
please tell me he's above Jacques Villeneuve, please.
Oh yeah, Jacques Villeneuve only had 11 wins. Jacques Villeneuve only had 2 winning seasons in F1, which is 96 and 97.
Good.
And Raikkonen, as you mentioned, he's on 21. The 2018 win in the USA got him above. He is Finland's all-time F1 winner.
I'm sure that's going to change when Bottas moves to Alpha.
I mean, who knows? Where is he actually? Where is Valtteri Bottas on
He's only got 8, I believe.
On this list. He has maybe even less than that. Where is he? 9. Level with Mark Webber at the moment. So
he's in a title-winning car for 5 years, and yeah, he's only won 9 races.
Yeah, that's poor. Like, I know, to be fair, Rubens Barrichello's here on 11. I think he also won 9 because 2 of them came with Braun, didn't they?
Yeah.
Because it was Herbert who won in Luxembourg to get Stewart's first win.
Okay.
So I think I could be wrong. I believe 9 of them. I think because obviously 2 came with Braun. I think in 2009.
Yeah, 2009, mate.
So I guess if you want, look, that comparison is going to be there. Barrichello versus Bottas for the wingman, but that can come in the future. Anyways, let's keep things moving. Good grief, absolute ramble city. Other winners of the weekend. Who have you got?
I've got Fernando Alonso.
Yes.
I've skipped over a couple there, but he was absolutely brilliant that race. Absolutely brilliant. Completely bossed the first lap again, even though he nearly took out Ocon. But we move. Absolutely ballsy move around the outside of the bank in turn 3. Got himself in a great position. Sort of dropped off in the first stint. And then had a late charge to get past his fellow countryman Carlos Sainz for P6.
Yeah, qualified 9th, very ballsy lap 1. Could have easily given his teammate a puncture, taken them out. It was very risky stuff. That was on the edge from Alonso.
A millimetre more, and then that was it. They were both out, 100%.
I guess that's
both would have got punctures.
I guess that's why he is Fernando Alonso. Like he just seems to know where that limit is. There was a great comment during the F3 commentary with Alex Jakes and Alex Brundle about Alonso kind of looking at the junior categories, F2, F3, etc., to look for lines, and he's just trying to learn more and more about possible ways he can make up places. I thought that was hilarious, and then obviously he went and did it in the race with the high line coming out of turn 3 before he made up another position on Giovinazzi after Sainz kind of squeezed him.
Yeah, honestly, that turn 3 banking is so good to watch.
That was very fun.
I love that corner. I loved it so much. A lot better than the final corner banking. Not really didn't do anything for me that one, but the turn 3 one,
Yeah,
so good to watch.
it's a great spectacle, that final banking, for like pictures and stuff. But yeah, for racing, that turn 3 banking did surprise me. Like, we saw it in F3 a lot, and the kind of the two different lines you can kind of go through if you want to send one down the inside, or
Cough, cough, Victor Martins.
yeah, we'll talk about F3 soon enough. But one of the things I wrote down here was lap 54, Alonso was 15 seconds behind Sainz. I don't know if that was the biggest the gap was, but a considerable
big.
gain. Yeah.
I don't know what happened with Sainz. I couldn't work out. I don't know if he just struggled on them hards or the Ferrari just wasn't working or what. He just dropped like a stone.
It
He
seemed
was
like
miles behind Charles.
seemed like a return to the France issues, because Alonso here did softs to mediums one stop, whereas the two Ferraris did softs to hards.
Did he? I thought Alonso did 2 stops.
No, one stop is what I'm seeing on the F1 classification.
Well, mad. I only thought it was Gasly that did it. Fair enough, that's mad.
Ocon did it too, to be fair to him.
Yeah, he's irrelevant though. Give him a new contract.
Well, speaking of, Alonso does move back ahead of Ocon in the standings after obviously the race win, kind of offsetting that a bit. So 46 points for Alonso to 44 for Ocon. A brilliant, brilliant weekend from Alonso. P6 is more than what that car should have been capable of.
He's not where I would have placed him after practice.
After qualifying, heck.
Yeah, I honestly thought another team was going to be the 3rd best team, or the 4th best team all weekend, and it was not them or Ferrari. Not a chance.
Another win of the weekend here is definitely Pierre Gasly.
Star of the weekend for me.
Yeah, very quiet star of the weekend, really, with all the attention on Red Bull and Verstappen. Gasly put in qualified P4 and was P4 for most of that race, essentially, once Leclerc pitted, of course, when those two swapped again. But it just seems to be a very lonely race for Gasly, but big points for AlphaTauri. 12 of them coming from Gasly then. They need all of those.
Yeah, and David Croft had another brilliant moment. He said that was Gasly's highest finishing position all year.
I don't think that's correct.
Is it not? That's mad.
No,
I didn't even know.
Crofty wrong about something?
Oh, wow. Never.
No, stop. Actually, I shouldn't really say much. I'm wrong all the time myself. So
No, you never admit to being wrong, Graham.
Never. Certainly when it comes to matters of last corners at upcoming tracks.
Yes.
But obviously 12 big points for Gasly. Look, there are some comments he's made over the weekend about the Red Bull situation. It's tough for him. He doesn't seem to be getting over it. Now he's backing the performances up, but yeah, I can't help to sense a little frustration with Gasly, and obviously he's obviously performing better than Perez has at the moment.
Yeah, you would be, wouldn't you, when you're finishing P4 in a car that shouldn't be finishing P4, and the other drivers barely getting top 10s. You'd be definitely questioning the why you're there and he's not type of thing, wouldn't you? Because I definitely would be. I couldn't understand if it was like a sudden random dip in form from Perez, but it's not. It's been for quite a while, since Austria really. He's sort of really gone down the drain.
Yeah, again, Austria I don't think was really his fault, but kind of since then, yeah, it has been difficult for Perez. We'll talk about Perez later on, but with obviously 8 points coming for Alonso and 2 there for Ocon. Alonso's big performance really helped Alpine in that fight for 5th place, because they're 6 points ahead of AlphaTauri at the moment. It's 90 points in Alpine's favour to 84 for AlphaTauri, but big points from Alonso, because those 12 points, it's unfortunate for Gasly and AlphaTauri that they obviously it's a one-man show really for them at the moment. Tsunoda was nowhere really all weekend, and was nowhere when he retired from this race as well. So it really is Gasly flying that flag solo while both Alpines are in the points, and that might come pretty costly for AlphaTauri, who, as Will Buxton was saying at the weekend, Franz Tost really wants this 5th place.
Yeah, I don't see why Tsunoda's being talked about as getting a new contract. I don't understand it. He's not done anything. cost the team more money than anything. It's probably going to cost him the a place in the Constructors' Championship. He's had probably 2 or 3 good races all season long.
Yeah,
I
one of them being the first
don't
one.
understand it. I really don't get it. I know it's a big step up, but he's just been nowhere.
He hasn't lived up to the hype that was in F2. Like again, we saw him in F2 last season. He was very fun, very promising.
Yeah, and we was very hyped about him coming up. We said, "Oh yes, he's definitely going to He's going to challenge Pierre. He's going to push him, not necessarily beat him, but he's going to push him." And apart from Bahrain, not really done anything for me.
I'm pretty sure you said he was going to beat Gasly.
I hate myself.
We'll have to revisit. We're definitely going to revisit those preseason predictions.
100%.
It's going to be very fun. We're both going to be very embarrassed. But
all my answers were right, is what I'm going to say.
Yeah, stellar stuff. Who else do you have as a winner of the weekend there?
Charles.
I'm going to lump in Ferrari as a whole, to be fair. But why don't you start with Charles Leclerc?
It was it's a very similar situation to Gasly, wasn't it? He's just nowhere in terms of being with anybody, but he was in there, put a very good performance in qualifying, fastest in one of the sessions, and then was where that car should be, P5, P6, in front of the McLarens, which is huge for them in the championship. And then they got a double point scoring finish in front of both the McLarens as well. So huge for Ferrari.
Yeah, big weekend for them. I was surprised that Gasly was able to outperform them, especially having seen like their 1-2 and so. I know that there's a lot of red flags and the such. The practices were disrupted. Kind of was a surprise in the end that the race itself actually turned out to be very, very clean in terms of that in that regard. Because I think any DNF around that track, and you basically have to throw a safety car to cover it. But just a really big weekend for Ferrari, because even though again Gasly they may not have expected coming. Both points finish and decent points finishes. I know Sainz being in 7th, losing that one very late on to Alonso wasn't ideal, but that's still I believe 16 points that they scored on the weekend versus McLaren's 1. So
yeah, which is huge.
In terms of the constructors, they're on 181.5 points to McLaren's 170. So I thought after France, I believe it was obviously Ferrari's low point of the year, and McLaren obviously a good double points finish. They were up by double digits as well, so it's kind of battle has ebbed and flowed. Ferrari, yeah, this is better, I think, than they could have imagined, I think, heading into the season.
Yeah, going into the Italian Grand Prix, I don't think they'd be expecting to have 180 points or whatever it was. I wouldn't have said that. I'd have said we've been lucky to go 100. Come the end of the season, never mind what we're on now, which probably should have been more if Mr. #Blessed didn't win the British Grand Prix, but sure, we'll roll with it.
Yeah, but a really good weekend for Ferrari, and I think they're going to need it, because I don't think their home Grand Prix is going to particularly play to the strengths of that car.
No, not at all. I think McLaren will go well there, based off how McLaren were in Belgium. They were very good in the straight line. So I'm expecting McLaren to be pretty much pushing Red Bull and Mercedes for the top teams in that weekend.
Yeah, I mean, there was chatter beforehand that this should have been one of the better tracks for them, and it just never really materialized. And even the performance disparity was massive, because only the top 3 were they finished on the lead lap. From Gasly down, everyone was lapped.
Lap 15, I think Gasly was nearly 21 seconds back. Nearly had a pit stop advantage at the front from Max. That's unreal on such a short track as well.
Yeah, it's surprising.
So surprising.
I think on tracks where there's a lot more downforce dependent, I think it really seems to expose the top teams from the rest. Because you look at Austria, I know in qualifying there was very little to take really, and I just didn't think at such a short lap they'd open such an enormous gap.
What do you mean downforce? They don't need downforce at Zandvoort, according to AWS.
Is Verstappen's tyre still about to go? It's hard to
Yes.
compound tyre.
If you don't know what I mean, there was a picture of an AWS graphic, and it said Zandvoort was a low downforce track. Don't know where they were looking, but everywhere I know, it's a high downforce track. So another brilliant weekend from AWS.
Yeah, not particularly great. Do you have any other winners of the weekend before we move on to the losers of the weekend?
I do not.
Did you enjoy Jenson Button alongside David Croft this weekend?
It's very calming compared to like Rosberg or something like that. Rosberg's very informative, giving you lots of information left and right. Button's very relaxed and compliments Crofty quite well, I think.
Yeah, JB's fantastic as a big.
Him and Rosberg, please.
Yeah, please. I'm dying for Sky Sports to churn out some of these the deadwood, so to speak. So please, I would love to see Button in. I'd love to see Rosberg in. I'd like to see definitely.
I don't mind the rest of it either, to be honest.
Yeah, I like Paul di Resta as well, to be fair. But Damon Hill has to go. Anthony Davis needs to go. Just focus on your Mercedes stuff, Anthony Davis, please.
I don't mind Anthony doing the paddock, the little
the Sky
thing
pad?
he does, little segment. Yeah, the Sky pad. I don't mind him doing that.
I'd rather Karun Chandok doing that, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't mind him rotating it though. That's fine with me.
There's some changes. Some changes need to happen there. I think it's time.
Yeah, but it's not going to happen. I don't think.
No, I say unlikely not. And let's move on to the losers of the weekend. I'm not going to lump in Mercedes here because I do think they gave it everything they had. Their car was quite good. I think more competitive than I think they could have possibly, more competitive than I think they would have imagined it being potentially heading into this one. So I don't really think them as a loser. They did actually extend their Constructors' Championship advantage to it's now 12 points over Red Bull. I guess, do you want to start with Sergio Perez?
That's what I was just going to say. Perez is the one that we need to talk about first, isn't it?
Go for it.
Of that. Well, it's another Perez Red Bull type weekend, isn't it? He's sort of stuffed himself in qualifying. But to be fair, the traffic and Red Bull sort of messed him up himself, and he was a bit slow on his out lap and got knocked out in Q1, which obviously puts him on the back foot straight away. Then we knew he was going to need to take a new engine anyway at some point later on in the season. And Red Bull was like, right, this is the time to do it. And to be fair, he had a good race, I thought, for considering how tough it is to overtake around here. But he shouldn't have been in that position in the first place in a car that absolutely slapped the field in retrospect. Like, he should have been fourth at least.
Yeah, I think so. It was... Again, like you said, I think I watched the onboard footage from the pit lane. They've been warned about this. It was because obviously I was going to say shenanigans because space is at premium at such a track like that. As we discussed last week, how it was going to be an issue, and so there's a lot of backing up in the pit lane to give themselves the space. And Perez maybe Red Bull could have positioned him better in the queue. Perez could have hurried on a little bit on his outlap, so I'd say a combination of the two kind of really screwed him. And I think logical sense to take engine components number 4, because they were, again, like you said, Verstappen is less of a certainty to do that. The Honda is still trying to fix that power unit, but we knew that Perez was definitely going to have to take a new one because it was a complete write-off. So P8 from pit lane, not too bad, especially considering to be fair now, like, he obviously wrecked his hard compound tires. I actually think that turned out to be a blessing in disguise because he would have been stuck behind that crowd forever. Yes, he could have gone long on hards, but I think pitching him onto mediums in that clear air allowed him just to undercut a lot of drivers he needed to undercut, and would have been stuck behind for the majority of the race. Like Lance Stroll was stuck behind Russell for basically the entirety of the race until Russell had to retire. It did not look like fun. I think, and once he put on those mediums, Perez was the fastest man on the track. Got exactly what I need to get done.
Yeah, he couldn't get past Mazepin on hard tyres, which said it all really. You just couldn't get close enough to get past. And then as soon as he did that local, he was setting fastest laps. Vettel, who was like P12 before he came into his pit stop, Perez basically managed to gain the time back and get in front of Vettel which to me was it really opened my eyes to how much of an undercut he'd actually got. Stupidly quick.
Yeah, but like you say, like recovery drives aren't what he needs, and not what Red Bull needs. And again, like you say, it's not the first one. Thankfully for them, their lead isn't too bad. Like it was a good drive for him, to be fair, to get some points and lessen the damage with the double podium finish for Mercedes there, and obviously the fastest lap to go with it. But they're going to need more from him in these upcoming races.
Yeah, he's reminded me of Albon.
A little, yeah.
Quite a lot.
I don't like saying that.
You know what I mean? And that's nothing against either of them, but he's being stomped. And I honestly thought he'd be I'm not saying he's going to be within 0.3 of Max, but I thought, right, he's probably going to be within 0.6. And we know Perez isn't exactly great at qualifying. It's never been his forte. It's always been the race.
Mm-hmm.
But even in the race, he's not really setting the times alight, really. If I'm honest, he sort of seems to get stuck behind someone because of qualifying issues, and then was on a recovery drive from that point onwards. And it just needs a decent race where he's just in the mix, where Red Bull can use him like Mercedes used Bottas today.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, big improvement there needed if Red Bull are going to contend for the constructors, even if Verstappen takes the lead of the drivers. I'm going to lead this next loser of the weekend. I know there'll be others to talk about, but I want to talk about Aston Martin because
they were the next one I had.
Because we were talking about it not too long ago about this three-way fight for P5 in the constructors between Alpine, AlphaTauri, and Aston Martin, the three A's, the triple threat. And Vettel's disqualification in Hungary obviously kind of put them on the back foot, but this weekend they were absolutely nowhere.
You say that. In practice they were looking all right, and then it got to qualifying. Obviously Vettel got very unlucky with the double Haas block, but apart from that they've done nothing, have they?
Like it was 13th and 14th, I believe. They Stroll finished ahead of Vettel, who had another mission spin now moment. 12 and 13. Sorry, it was the because Russell retired late on that. He was classified as Russell, but I'm sure the irony was lost on Lance Stroll there and all that. But just another mission spin now moment for Vettel coming out of turn 3, but he was nowhere. Like to be fair either, and Stroll, I gotta be honest, Lance Stroll's been really disappointing this year.
Yeah, he's been nowhere. I can't remember having a good race.
He's been really bad for most of the season. He had a couple of good races to start the year, and because he was outscoring Vettel, and I've got his results here. So a P10 in Bahrain, a P8 in Imola. Okay, good double points there. 14th in Portugal, 11th in Spain, 8th place in Monaco. Okay, fair enough. DNF in Azerbaijan wasn't really his fault. Fair enough.
They would have got points, if I'm honest. He was running well, though.
They both were, to be fair. A 10th in France, an 8th in Styria, 13th in Austria, 8th in Britain. These sound okay, but last 3 races, DNF in Hungary, which is a complete miscalculation on his part. 20th in Belgium, obviously, with a terrible qualifying and grid penalty to boot. And just nowhere, really. He's had a few P8 sprinkled in there, but we're talking about drivers fighting for 5th place here. We've got Gasly pumping in P4s. We've got Alonso with these drives getting to P6s and P7s. Ocon obviously taking a race win. Vettel getting on the podium as well. These results aren't awful. They're just not good enough for what Aston Martin are trying to accomplish here.
Yeah, but the irony is, the rumour was going around the paddock this weekend that Vettel was going to get dropped because apparently Lawrence Stroll had approached Fernando Alonso.
Which they ended up denying pretty hard.
Yeah, but of all drivers to drop, Vettel's the one that gets rumoured?
Yeah.
Really?
It's a weird one, isn't it?
Yeah. Terrible.
The bottom line is that you have Alpine on 90 points, AlphaTauri on 84. After neither car scored any points, Aston Martin on 53 points.
I think that's it.
And that's it, isn't
I'm
it?
honest.
They're not making that up unless you have a situation like Hungary. And even then, that's just to catch up.
Yeah, that's not going to be maintained.
So
No chance.
Aston Martin are going to finish more than likely 7th this year, and that is going to be an absolute failure of a season.
Yeah, after finishing third last season. Fourth last season, sorry.
But should have been 3rd, you're right.
Yeah. But that to me, Mr. Stroll is not going to be happy.
So at some
There'll
point...
be some big changes.
Right, so at what point do you say, right, well, we've got a 4-time world champion here. He's brought us 1 podium, technically brought us 2, not his fault.
Yeah.
That second one disappeared. And we've got our other driver who has failed to kick on from some of the promising signs he showed last year when I was like improved qualifying and a pole position in wet conditions in Turkey. And I know AlphaTauri have got one driver flying the flag solo there, but that's, Gasly has had a really good season. And that's enough for them to be in contention with Alpine and their 2 drivers. Vettel can't carry Aston Martin on his own. He needs that help, and Stroll is not giving it to him.
Yeah, this is year 5 of Stroll, I want to say.
Yes.
Year 4, year 5?
5.
And he's being pulled along by someone that I basically said was washed
That's right.
at the start of this season. And I said Stroll was going to absolutely walk it. And he's just done nothing, has he? It's really bizarre. I don't get... Even qualifying, mate, it's just been nowhere.
Yeah, really, really bad. Like a couple of P8 sprinkled in here. Okay, 4 points here and there. It's just not good enough. And if they haven't abandoned development on that car, they absolutely should now.
Yeah, I'd just pull up and not bother turning up to the rest of the races, if I'm honest. There's no point. Well, there isn't, is there? Talking about cost cap and stuff, like, what are they going to achieve by turning up to these races and finishing P12, P14 and fighting with Alfa Romeo? Like, what is it? And Williams?
Yeah.
They're just not going to do anything. They were legit outperformed by George Russell all weekend.
Yeah, they were.
They just were. Even I would have even said Latifi would have probably got in front of Stroll if it wasn't for the crash in qualifying.
So yeah, look, will there be end of season awards? But I'd imagine right up there for biggest disappointment will be Aston Martin will be right up there. They'll be contenders in that one, anyways.
Yeah, I think they'll have their own award, if I'm honest. But yeah.
So really bad weekend for them, especially when big points finishes for both AlphaTauri and Alpine. So yeah, throw that one away. It's Alpine and AlphaTauri for 5th place, and just give the P7 money to Aston Martin now.
Yeah, put it in Mr. Stroll's bank account and let him run away.
Yeah, pretty much. I think he'll want to after this season's said and done. So, other losers of the weekend, what have you got? Besides the losers of the season in terms of Aston Martin now at this rate?
I was going to say Gio, but I think it's a bit harsh.
Yeah, it would be a bit
because it
harsh.
wasn't really his fault, but he was a loser in the sense of he probably would have got points. But yeah, the points should cost him in the end. So I'm gonna chuck the Haas boys into this.
Yeah,
that whole debacle. Well, that what happened with them is it's getting stupid at this point now. It's just asking for a huge accident. This rift that's sort of built up these last couple of weekends. Yeah, it's not going to be good to Mr. Gunter to take on.
To be honest, this really began not even in F1. Like, these guys extend back to F2 and even beforehand as well. Like, they don't get on track. I would hazard to guess they don't get on off of it either.
Nope.
And they came to blows. They've come close to blows of more than a few times last year in F2. And we saw this year in F1. Like even in Baku, last lap, Mazepin, very high speed, very aggressive defensive move against Schumacher to prevent him coming through. Mick was absolutely furious about it at the time. Qualifying on the weekend, it seemed like it was Mazepin's turn to go in front, and apparently the team gave Mick Schumacher permission to go ahead of him. I think Mazepin was very annoyed by this, very, very annoyed, and whatever squabble they were trying to get into, obviously Vettel was caught in the crossfire with his flying lap. Vettel will actually handle that situation very well, to be fair. We'll give him, he would have had every right to be absolutely furious at these back markers pissing around at the back there over track position while he's on a flying lap. He would have had every right to go absolutely nuts. And in fact, only for his comments afterwards did neither of those two really land in hot water for that qualifying incident.
I don't get why. I honestly don't understand how they didn't get a penalty of some form.
It's a spare Mick, I think. I think Vettel's, because the report particularly lended to noted Vettel's kind of comments and that kind of thing as a reason basically why they didn't really get penalties. So they have Vettel to thank and apologize for the whole situation. To be fair, I think Vettel probably didn't want to screw Mick too much out of it, whatever. Because if you're deciding they're guilty, they're both guilty essentially.
Yeah, but giving them a penalty, what's it going to change? They're going to be P19 and P20. Oh no.
Well, yeah, they're already last, given Latifi and Perez are from the pit lane. But even in the race, so I had a feeling he's gonna go absolutely nuts into this race, was Mazepin, and sure enough, heading out of turn 3, positioned his car in a very erratic way to force his way through the long run out of turn 3 to twisty sections, and then trying to defend, then heading on to lap 2. Basically damaged Schumacher's wing as he moved across, almost sent Schumacher into the pit lane. We know Mazepin is very aggressive in this regard. We saw that plenty in F2, but more specifically in Bahrain, where he basically put Djokovic into a brake marking board on the run up to turn 4. Turn 4. It's not turn 3. It's turn 3. Turn 3. Sorry. Yeah, I think you are right actually. So we know he's very, very aggressive. What were your thoughts on Mazepin's standards of driving, and because we're barreling towards a massive accident?
I honestly thought he turned a corner, because he's been all right the last few races. He seems to have turned a corner and sort of calmed it down a little bit, and then, oh no, how wrong was I? Suddenly someone does something to piss him off, and he's straight back to being the old knobby that he was in F2, and decides, I'm going to be aggressive and basically force my teammate into a wall, it's a concrete wall at the end of the day. If Mick hits that, he's probably breaking his legs at the speed they were going at. So to me, if I'm Mick, I'm looking at that Alfa Romeo seat and I'm thinking, hey up, if I can persuade Mr. Fred to take me on, then I'm getting out there as soon as possible.
Something's got to give there, and Gunter Steiner is playing a very diplomatic game in his comments, saying no one was really to blame, but talks about how they need to hold discussions. So he played down the context, as I'm reading an article on Race Fans. I don't think it was a nasty move, to be honest, said Steiner. I looked at the scenario, and it always takes two to tango. I would say there is not one to be blamed on this. We need to work it out, be constructive. We had a meeting after our engineering debrief about it. We haven't come to a conclusion. Okay, the plan is to meet before Monza and to see what we need to do to avoid this in the future, because it doesn't help anybody. I tried to explain that one. So we will work on it, and we will work on it until we get it sorted. And then talked about kind of the next steps. Obviously, the next step you probably imagine would be to say, you guys cannot fight on track anymore. And so to that kind of notion, Steiner continues, it's not easy to bang their heads together, but you have to come to some conclusions. Otherwise, we need to put rules in place. And Schumacher really believed that the incident from the Saturday obviously led to the situation on Sunday for why he was so defensive. So look, I think there's bad blood there, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. And I honestly think it's mostly instigated from Mazepin's side, and Schumacher is not going to back down to that.
No, I wouldn't if I was him either. I don't see why he needs to. Like, Mazepin's just being over aggressive he's probably got a fair point to be annoyed at the team rather than Mick for allowing Mick to go in front. He should be talking to the team like an adult and sorting the situation out with them rather than taking it out and risking someone's life. That's, to me, is just stupid and shouldn't be allowed on track at all.
Yeah, we haven't heard the last of this, so and likely not seen the last of it. And I imagine there is one way or another, one of them is going to end up in the barrier or out of the race. And yeah,
and it won't be Mazepin.
Yeah, might not be.
Well, let's say that it won't be Mazepin. It'll be Mick in the barrier, 100%.
So yeah, hopefully they can sort that out, because that is barreling towards something much bigger and much uglier. Like it wasn't the post kind of qualifying comments and such. They weren't great. There is definitely something not great going on there at Haas. I have another loser at the weekend. It obviously would be McLaren. I was going to mention them first, but Aston Martin was really on my heart. So just a really rough weekend for them. Norris, Kai in qualifying, the pace wasn't really there as it turned out. Ricciardo had a better qualifying but couldn't really do much in Q3 and almost had to abort his start. It was a very strange situation going on there for him to begin the race, but eventually took the start, and ended up having to swap places with Norris after Norris went deep, but they had to swap those two, and I think Norris got close to Ocon but couldn't get anything done there in the end. But 1 point for McLaren coming out of that race compared to Ferrari's 16. So obviously they lose some pretty good footing in that constructors battle there.
Yeah. Say Lando had a great recovery drive after he got caught out in the red flag in qualifying. Probably would have got through to Q3. Probably in the place of Giovinazzi, but yeah, not great. And they need to be pretty much matching Ferrari. That's not the kind of weekend they need. So kind of evens itself out. Ferrari had the bad weekend in France. Now McLaren have had a bad weekend in Zandvoort. Sort of levels it out, doesn't it, really? And it makes it even closer, I guess, in a way.
And I really think it's going to be that case in Italy too for Monza, where I think you're going to see a big bounce back weekend for McLaren and Ferrari. It'd be lucky to get
maybe 9th, 10th.
Yeah, possibly if they can get both cars in the points, that'd be a good damage limitation.
We say that Ferrari were good in Baku. They were very good in Baku.
Yeah, but there's enough twisty parts there to kind of make up for it. We know what Monza is.
Temple of Speed.
Straight line McGee. So if they could take the fight to McLaren, I would say it's a better reflection of Ferrari than it would be saying negatively of McLaren in that situation.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see what happens with them, but yeah, not a great weekend for them. First time Norris didn't make it through to Q3 this year, so
not his fault.
A minor blot on what has obviously been a very good season for Norris, who did eventually, he's finally conceded P3 in the standings after Bottas's podium. So it's probably likely where he's going to stay. I know Perez is quite close. Perez might get him for 4th, but yeah, just
not the weekends like that.
Yeah, true. Well, the gap's not too far, to be fair. The gap between Perez and Norris is 6 points.
Yeah. So, and then Leclerc's in 6th or 5th or whatever.
Yeah, he's on 92. There's a bit of a gap further back.
Yeah.
I have one more loser of the weekend. I'm not sure if you have another, but I got Nicholas Latifi as a loser of the weekend, purely from the sense of qualifying, where he had a legitimate chance to finally out-qualify Russell, and he was on pace to. Like, the delta between Giovinazzi in 10th and Russell in 11th, who had already retired from the session, was 3/10, and Latifi is only 1/10 down on Giovinazzi through Sector 1. He was improving on his time and looking like he was going to finally out-qualify Russell, and dipped the wheel on the grass and into the barrier she went.
Have you seen Lewis is on board of that?
Yeah, I did.
It is hilarious. You've got Bono on the radio saying Latifi in 5, Latifi in 3, and then you just see Hamilton look to the left, and Latifi's just sailing it off into the barriers. Brilliant.
It was a big hit, and he's obviously okay, which is the main thing. But yeah, I think he was pushing like a man who knew he had a chance in that qualifying record with Russell, and yeah, a chance that went begging.
Yeah, he was just trying to overcompensate or overperform, wasn't he? And it just went like a little bit too far, and he put himself on the grass.
So I don't know if another chance will come for Latifi to outqualify Russell like that, but that was definitely the best one he's gotten. Imola was close, but this was a clear cut.
It was on the plate. It was ready to be taken, and he's like, "I'm going to do Mr. Latifi and put it in the barrier. Why not?"
So pit lane start for him in the end, and P16 in the end for Latifi. So yeah, difficult one, but it doesn't seem like it's going to really take away from the fact that seems like he's going to be at Williams next year. So congratulations. Yeah, I'm going to be honest, I am shocked that we're going to get a year 3 of Latifi in F1. I'm very, very surprised. Now, he is improved, but I still think
he's a lot this year, to be fair.
Yeah, I still think he's the worst driver on this grid, though. Although maybe you could, I don't know how you feel about Tsunoda still, but
I don't know. I think he's on par with Mazepin. I don't know.
Yeah, actually,
he's close.
Yeah, sorry. Let me take that back.
Yeah, Mazepin's probably got more raw talent, but Mazepin's attitude and his racecraft and stuff sort of brings him down. Whereas Latifi doesn't have that raw talent. He has his daddy's wallet, but he's actually semi-decent at racing. Just doesn't know where he's going in practice or qualifying.
Yeah, it gets
and blocks everybody.
Yeah. So yeah, rough one for him. Any other losers of the weekend here before we move it on?
No.
I don't think so either. So, God, this is going to be the longest one of these we've ever done. Do you want to talk some F3?
Yeah, we might as well. Might as well carry on.
We'll make this brief because I wouldn't do this normally, but there's a race next weekend as well. So
yeah, but the weekend after we can sort of wait F3 in the break week, can't we?
So F3, obviously the big story heading in was that Jack Doohan had really closed up on Dennis Hauger's lead. But Hauger put an absolutely stonking lap to get pole position, get those extra points. Just an absolutely clutch lap, clutch time. Just that was a champion's pole position, I thought, from Hauger on Friday.
Yeah, and robbed our boy David Schumacher of pole. How dare he? How dare he? That's so bad. But yeah, he just it was the Dennis that we know can pull stuff out of his arse. Coming back to save him that race, that qualifying session.
Obviously went on to take the feature race win in race 3, and
dominant.
Yeah, very comfortable. I wouldn't say dominant. He was very comfortable out there, at least.
It was the biggest gap all weekend, though. To be fair, it was 5 seconds. He was gone.
Yeah, he was
absolutely gone.
David Schumacher was definitely a bottleneck in that race 3, but to be fair, Hauger is unlucky to leave with a bigger advantage because he was absolutely rammed out of it in race 2, where he was 4th, wasn't he? When he was chasing a podium, when Ido Cohen rear end got his rear wing all over his rear tire and caused a puncture late on for Hauger.
Yeah, but luckily Jack dropped it.
Yeah.
In the start of sector 2, where Latifi dropped it and had to take the run off, so he didn't score any points either, so it sort of neutralised itself.
It did neutralise itself, but it's very similar to the Hamilton Verstappen kind of thing in Baku. Hauger would have scored more points, that even though they're both in point scoring positions, Hauger would have extended his lead rather than just coming away neutral. So it's kind of a rough one. But look, ultimately with the feature race win, and Doohan finished. I think Doohan finished 6th. Was it 6th or so? 5th. 5th for Doohan after Martin's penalty. Finished 5th in the race 3. So yeah, he's now 43 points behind Hauger heading into the final round, which has been
moved to Russia from Kota.
Oh my god!
We were so
year
hyped to see F3 at Kota,
Oh.
and then visa issues have come in and took it away from us. So disappointing, but that means we're going to have F1, F2, and F3 all racing around Sochi. So that's going to be 7 races to watch in one weekend.
There may have been visa issues.
And I'm off that weekend.
There may have been visa issues, but there are also the other thing in the part of this is race fans is reporting here is that the change means Sorry, wrong one. The Texan track was due to hold the F3 season finale alongside the United States Grand Prix on October 26th. However, F3 is changing the venue to the final round, changing due to F1 management's need to reduce the number of staff traveling to the USA as a result of the COVID-19 restrictions. So that is why it is being changed. So Russia never too shy of it to take on a little more. So yeah, 7 races around Russia. I hope you're excited. But
to be fair, F2 and F3,
you get some good stuff there.
It wasn't bad. It wasn't bad last year, to be fair. Russia was all right for them. So I don't mind it in a sense. They put on a great race.
They might, who knows? But Hauger has got the chance to secure it early enough in the weekend too. He could do it possibly by race 2, I think. If he has a good race 1 and race 2, because obviously with 30 odd points being 25 and a bit. He's fastest lap as well. I forgot he got 31 points for race 3, and that included pole and fastest lap. So I believe it's still 25, isn't it, for the race win? So with a maximum of 30 odds depending on pole position and race win. So yeah, by the end of race 1, maybe race 2, race 1, he could have that done. Could Hauger, which I think is important.
Probably race 2, yeah, which is it basically gives him a confidence into the weekend that he's got a little bit of a buffer. Mm-hmm. It's the final round. He's got to majorly cock up to lose that championship, hasn't he? He's got one hand on that trophy.
Yeah, he really does. 193 to 150 points with Doohan. Clement Novalak moved up to 3rd after his strong weekend, double podium for him. Good weekend for Novalak. Martins was due to take a lot of points out of Doohan. Would have put himself right in the mix for P2 still, but look, I don't blame him for having a go at Schumacher. Schumacher was desperately slow. It was very, very clear that Martins was arguably just as fast as Hauger possibly on the weekend. He was
not quicker. I would have said he's quicker all weekend.
He was very, very quick, was Martins, and easily deserved the P2 in front of him. He was behind Schumacher all race long. I don't blame him for going for it. It didn't work. Schumacher not too impressed, obviously, with the situation. But look, Martins copped the penalty, apologised to Schumacher. He's still 4th, and he's behind Novalak by 5 points. He's level with Vesti then in for that 4th place at 117 points. I think Novalak is punching above his weight slightly.
Yeah.
In terms
the thing is, I think them. It's literally just down to Hauger and Doohan now for the title, isn't it? Everyone else is out of it. Which is bizarre. I would not have said Hauger or Doohan based off last season.
Yeah,
not a chance.
But there you go. I do think in terms of F3, I do think it's been Hauger, Martins, Doohan in that kind of order for best drivers. I hope Martins, even if he finishes 5th or so, I know he could fall down to 6th possibly, because Smollier is not too far away either. On 107 points in 6th place there, but I do think Martins has been the best of the rest essentially after Hauger. So I hope the final standings will reflect close to that, even if he can't take 2nd.
Yeah, same, because I think him and Hauger have just got the raw talent.
Mm-hmm. I think
100%,
so too.
And they're definitely going to be in F2 next season, 100%.
Yeah, well, Hauger is obviously basically set.
Yeah, and then Alpine will get Martins in there to probably replace Piastri or Guanyu.
Yeah,
for a guess.
The other thing then, obviously, with the calendar shift, this is one thing I want to talk about, and we're going to link into F2 here in this regard. The Kota is due to take place on the 22nd to the 24th of October. With the change to the calendar, all of a sudden, by the end of this month, because the Russian Grand Prix is on the 24th to 26th of September, it's moved a month. It's a month ahead of the US Grand Prix. F3 is going to be done by the end of the month.
2 weeks, 2-3 weeks. Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? Here's
the thing. The reason you talked about earlier, like why are we talking about Oscar Piastri? The reason why we're not talking about Oscar Piastri is that F2 has been largely irrelevant this year because it has been so far apart. The rounds have been so spread out. It's impossible to get any momentum for anyone on this grid. Like I'll let you jump in a sec, but like you had March, the end of March was the first round in Bahrain. Late May was round 2 in Monaco, and then you had 2 weeks, and then Baku, early June, 4th to 6th of June. Then we had to wait till mid-July for Silverstone, and we've had to wait from mid-July to Monza next week for the next round. It's just so spread out that it's hard to. F3's had so much more momentum. It's been so much easier to get excited about because it's been on so much more frequently and not spread out like that.
Yeah, I was going to bring this up as well because I was scrolling down my Twitter. I think it was Thursday morning, and when I was at work, and this random girl put on. She's a big F1 fan like us, and she was like, "I'm so much more attached to the F3 series than I am to F2 this season, purely because of how much it's been on compared to F2." Like, I couldn't even tell you what happened in the last F2 race. Or at all.
Silverstone. Nothing happened in Silverstone, to be fair, in F2. Like,
You know what I mean? Like, it's been so weird. And the rumours are that I've seen a few rumours floating around that it's going to revert back to the old system of F2 and F3 both taking place on the same weekend, and it'll just be the 2-race format like it was previously. And I'm all for it because this new format has just not worked.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I like having 3 races a weekend, but at the same time, do we need 3 races? I think it's a bit much, if I'm honest.
I know. Yeah, like I know we were skeptical about. We weren't sure when the F2 first did this in Bahrain. We thought perhaps it was okay, but I think the more time has gone on, the more like how spread out this shit actually is, the more I think like I'm not. I understand why it was done to reduce costs, but I just don't really like it.
Yeah, I'm the same. Honestly, like I look forward to F2 and F3 more than F1 sometimes, based on the track, but just because it produces great racing and great action and it's a lot of fun. But sometimes I sit there, I'm just on my phone because sometimes it's just not. I'm watching the same stuff every race, pretty much. It does get a bit monotonous at times, and I really want. Some weeks I'm like, right, I want to watch F2 this weekend, but I'm like, no, it's the third weekend in a row where we've got F3 on. Like, why?
Yeah. I've been so much more excited about watching F3 than F2, even though F2 results hold so much more in terms of like driver careers and futures in F1.
I didn't care about F3 last year, if I'm honest.
I didn't really either.
I watched it, but I didn't care. If I missed it, I missed it. If it was on at 7 o'clock in the morning, I was not getting up. But this year, I've been getting up every morning, every weekend to watch it.
Like, I can't take my eyes away from F3 this year. I love it. I've loved this crop of drivers. It's been so fun watching these guys this year.
Yeah. Whereas F2, I'm not really a fan of it, if I'm honest. The battery drivers just don't seem to interest me as much.
Yeah.
Which is bizarre.
I'm with you. Like, we're going to get a lot more F2 to finish here. So, like, obviously, in Monza next week, there's going to be F2. Sochi 2 weeks later there's going to be F2. But then we have to wait till December again to get to Jeddah and Abu Dhabi for the finale. It's too
spread out. It's too spread out.
We've got all of the rest of September to do, like with after Sochi, all of October, all of November.
There's just no way. Like, this is what I brought up about Piastri. He should be being considered for an F1 seat, but because there's been such big gaps in between, nobody's taking any notice.
Yeah, like he's on course to do, excuse me, he's on course to do what Charles Leclerc did and George Russell did. Charles Leclerc is now driving a Ferrari. George Russell is about to be announced as a Mercedes driver. And what Piastri is doing at the moment, again, he hasn't won the title yet, but he's on course to do what those guys are doing. And like, we call Russell and Leclerc kind of, I don't want to say generational talents, but they are in many ways. Like, they're
at the top of their generation.
Yeah, they're going to be massive players in F1 for the next decade plus, you would imagine. And what Piastri is doing is going completely unnoticed. A guy who won F3 last year in contention immediately to win F2, these guys shouldn't be flying under the radar. Like, why are we talking about Guan Yu Zhou for a Williams seat? Like, why aren't we talking about what Piastri is doing? It does beggar belief, and maybe we focus on it when we get back racing again, F2. But it's so hard for these guys to establish. Yeah, like you have to establish no momentum, no rhythm, not only on track but off of it too.
Yeah, it's gonna get to Sochi. We'll all be hyped up about something, and then it'll be like, oh, well, that's it now. We'll see you in Saudi Arabia. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
In December, like, it's a 5-point lead Piastri has over Joe. Schwartzman, Ticktum, Vips are not far behind.
Yeah. Which we can rule Ticktum out of that because he's probably not going to be racing again. But that's him done now, I assume.
So I'm interested to see what happens when we do pick this up. But yeah, it is. I hope we do go back to the old format because it just worked better in every aspect.
Yeah, it's more for me to watch, but at the end of the day, I'm more pulled in as a viewer rather than the spread out bullshit that we've got now. So
there's our F2, F3 talk. I will praise F3 all the live long this year because it really has delivered fantastic stuff. The only real I mean, it's hard. Like, there are races where, like, Budapest is probably the weakest of the whole season so far. To be fair, the race 1 and race 2 there, but otherwise, it has been an absolutely
every other one's have been good,
fantastic season. Even Spain had great races, and France too.
Spain was crazy good. So, France was brilliant,
and like F2, Bahrain was fine. Silverstone, nothing happened. Monaco had actually some decent moments for Monaco, to be fair. And Baku had some decent moments, but it doesn't even compare.
Yeah, honestly, I can't remember. Like I said, I can't even remember what happened. Who won the last race or what?
Guan Yu Zhou won the last race in the F2, just to jog.
Of course he did.
Jog the memory.
Of course he did.
First feature race repeat winner of the season. Anyways, F2 and F3 aside, and we have our thoughts on that. We do have another race this weekend. It is the Italian Grand Prix at Monza. It is also the return of sprint qualifying back again this weekend, being trialled. Yeah, I actually forgot not until Sunday did I actually later on Sunday did I actually realize, oh yeah, sprint qualifying is back on this weekend. So let me actually bring up the schedule. I actually need to refresh myself of the time.
Oh God, I've just realised I've got something on Friday. God damn it.
Yeah, so practice 1, 10th of September, this obviously this coming week. Sprint qualifying then on the Friday. Practice 2 then, sprint on the Saturday, and obviously the race on the Sunday starting at 2. So we go from a track that is obviously very high in downforce to you're running the least.
Yeah.
Do you think this swings back to Mercedes? How do Red Bull figure into it? What are your thoughts heading into the Italian Grand Prix weekend, which has always been a good hunting ground for Mercedes in the hybrid era?
Yeah, I was just going to say it's going to be a Mercedes domination again, I think. 1-2, maybe 1-3. I don't see Red Bull going, not badly, but well around here. If you know what I mean. It's just not a track that I think will suit their car. I think they'll bounce back in Russia, but yeah, it's not going to be a good one for Red Bull. Mercedes are going to lose or walk it.
I really think that Red Bull package is being underestimated in a straight line. Like, we talk about Belgium, I really think Red Bull would have had the measure of Mercedes at Belgium, and that's a straight line track. I know there's Sector 2 elements where it's a bit more downforce, but I really think Red Bull are being undersold here as legit. I think the opposite to you. I think they won't be walked. I think they have a great chance to do something here because that Honda package is a very strong one.
It is, but going off previous races where Mercedes have been absolutely OP as hell in a straight line, just look at Silverstone. Like, that was unreal, the straight line speed Lewis had in that race.
Yeah, but that was a decision they made with their car, to be fair, because they knew Red Bull had downforce to match or to be better. So I think that was a conscious setup decision to take less wing, and arguably, given what happened, it obviously paid off. But Mercedes, I think they should be in closer contention. I know they were in close contention in Holland, but they in theory, they should be a bit more competitive. So will that be enough to put them to the front of the grid? Yeah, possibly, but I don't think it's going to be. I don't think they're going to have it easy. The same way Red Bull didn't really have it easy this weekend either.
Yeah, true. I can see that. I'm interested to see how it plays out because obviously the sprint qualifying is going to be a big factor in that.
Yeah, very
'Cause,
much
like,
so.
Yeah, if there's an accident, then oof, we're going to have some fun.
So yeah, that'll shake things up a little bit. To be fair, I guess we'll have a hint to the race, I suppose, based on what we see in sprint quali. So I guess we can see maybe a bit of foreshadowing. Maybe we can be depressed on Saturday. Who knows?
Yeah, I'm not going to be able to see it, so I'm going to be annoyed. God damn it.
Other than the Mercedes Red Bull aspect, what else are you looking forward to on the weekend?
The Tifosi. I do love seeing the passionate Italians. I do love it. They are some of the best fans in terms of their passion for a particular team. I love it. So good. It's so good to see.
Yeah, like I'm just thinking back. I'm so glad Leclerc got to do what he did in 2019. Could you imagine if he had won on it with no Tifosi there a year later?
Oh God,
And
that'd have been so depressing.
that would have been brutal. Like Mick Schumacher missed out on a great moment as well because he obviously took I think he actually took his first F2 feature race win of that season in Italy, and it would have been such a great moment for the Tifosi to celebrate that. The ones that were there watching the F2 to celebrate that, obviously son of the greatest Ferrari driver to ever do it. Obviously, many Italian Grand Prix moments won there as well. So it was a shame that was missed out last year. So yeah, the fact that they're back and on again decently competitive this year. I'm not quite sure if their package will line up for them at Monza, but it's going to be fascinating because a lot of Monza spec upgrades and car kind of this is one of those circuits where there's a lot of different stuff rolled out by teams to try and get themselves in the hunt here.
Yeah, there's a hell of a lot. Absolutely ridiculous amount of different things they can throw at. There's always every team's going to have some like 3 or 4 different rear wings that they're going to try. I guarantee it. So that'll be the take talk will be an interesting one.
Yeah, I look forward to Sam Collins' take on on all that good stuff.
Yeah.
What else are you looking forward to? I'm looking forward to AlphaTauri versus Alpine, especially on this track.
I'm looking forward to Aston Martin's demise.
Yeah, they need
what
something.
Excuse them to pull out the bag?
Hi, the low rake.
We've gone the wrong way with our setup. Sebastian, get out the team. Type attitude.
They need a good weekend in the worst way.
Yeah, and it's not going to happen.
Yeah, they have to be adventurous. I think they should. I think they should be. If there are some teams debating soft mediums in sprint for sprint qualifying, they should absolutely need to be the team that does soft. If everyone else is doing medium.
Yeah, but they won't.
No,
they just won't.
Any other thoughts on the Italian Grand Prix before we go to a prediction?
Williams will be nowhere. I'll say that now. They will be back to being 9th best.
Interesting.
I don't see them. I don't see them having good straight line speed. So they've never really been that great in that regard. So for me, I think they'll be back behind Alpha.
Oh, this is one thing I meant to ask. How many pieces of F1 news do you think will be announced this week in the build-up to the Italian Grand Prix? Because I think we're set for a bombshell week of announcements.
You've jinxed it now, so well done. We're not going to get anything. Based on how we said it the other week, we was expecting a load of stuff for Belgium, and we got nothing.
Mm-hmm.
But realistically, I'm going to say we're going to let the Bottas to Alpha.
Yeah.
Or Bottas leaving Mercedes. Probably both. Well, they tie into each other, Luke, you idiot. Of course. George, possibly Albon leaving Red Bull, but not confirmed at Williams. And then Giovinazzi not being retained would be a brutal one at the Italian Grand Prix. That would be brutal. And then maybe De Vries staying on at Formula E. Maybe. So I'm going to say 6.
I think, we'll definitely hear Certainly Bottas announcement to Alfa Romeo home, as close to home Grand Prix. I know they're Swiss based, but Alfa Romeo is is as close as you can.
Nobody wants a Swiss Grand Prix, let's be real.
The Swiss Grand Prix doesn't want the Swiss Grand Prix, let's be real.
Yeah.
I think we'll get that announcement at Alfa Romeo's quote home end quote. We'll get that. We'll get Russell to Mercedes announced. I think the Albon De Vries stuff will wait a little longer. Certainly not while Giovinazzi is around. That would be brutal to announce that he's being replaced as home Grand Prix. That would be absolutely rough. So I don't think we'll get that. Certainly not this week. Possibly in the break between Russia. Who knows?
We'll get the Stroll extension.
I always think that's a December announcement for that.
Yeah. But it's one of the only ones that's not been confirmed, but we all know it's going to happen.
Yeah, so I'll keep it light. I think it's just going to be those two as as the main paddock moves, and the rest will fall into place a little later on. I kind of think we'll get a Latifi announcement soon as well. To be fair,
The Mercedes.
all right.
But it's been floating around.
I would, yeah, all right. I'd bet my house that the Alfa Romeo and Mercedes stuff will be done by this week. Allegedly, I think I heard this on Ted Kravitz's paddock review. It may have been somewhere else, but allegedly the Netflix crew got to see the signing of the contract. So allegedly,
okay.
Now I don't know for sure. That's just
of George or Bottas
for Russell, yeah.
Ooh,
allegedly. Now I don't know if there's any truth in that, but yeah.
I liked how they did the Perez contract announcement in Drive to Survive. That one was good. Checo, it's Christian. Welcome to Red Bull.
Yeah, that was good. So I imagine there'll be a big deal done for that. But yeah, I imagine those two will be sorted this week. So should be fun.
Yeah, definitely.
I can't believe how long this ran on for. It was a hectic one. Are there any final thoughts?
I haven't even done top 5 yet.
Are we doing? Oh, right, predictions, right.
Yes.
Well, you seem to lean towards Mercedes, so what have you got?
I'll go Lewis, Max, Bottas, Norris, Gasly.
Okay. Interesting.
What about you?
I will go Verstappen, Hamilton, I think Norris as well, actually, for whatever reason. And we'll say Bottas and Perez.
I say Gasly. Perez has gone well at Monza in the past, so actually I'll swap Gasly out for Perez. Perez in 5th. Yeah.
So we'll see how they get on with that. Any other final thoughts or comments before we wrap up for the day?
No, that is it from me.
What
are we on?
We're not going to ask me race rating out of 10?
Oh. What is your race rating out of 10, Mr. Chappell?
I was going to say 6.5.
It's 7. It was all right.
Yeah.
Not brilliant, but not bad. I've seen a lot of people on Twitter saying it was boring. I don't know what they were watching, but it's all right to me.
To be honest, it was better than I thought it was going to be.
Same.
And I'll count that as a win.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought was getting nothing at all.
Yeah, so
in terms of overtakes.
Good job, Zandvoort. And the Hamilton boos were not nearly as bad as I thought. To be fair, they were
non-existent.
There was a few, and I can never pronounce his name right. And after fear of what happened last week, I don't want to do it. Vandergeed? I don't know.
Vandergaard,
thank you.
Vandergaard
was quick to like try and get them to stop, but generally speaking, I really thought it was going to be worse for Hamilton, and it really wasn't that bad. I wouldn't say they were non-existent, but it could have been a lot worse.
It wasn't Verstappen in the wall at Silverstone type vibes. It was just the occasional, which is normal in sport.
Sure. He's been booed he's booed a lot more in other areas that were not predominantly Verstappen fans. So I think Hamilton can get himself lucky. He did try to play crowd favour, try and pander to them. Understandably so.
Yeah. Said he really enjoyed himself, to be fair. So, yeah.
I think the F1 Dutch fans gave a very good account for themselves. And I think F1 will be delighted to go back. And they will.
Same. Yeah.
Right. Any final thoughts before we put this one to bed?
Can we make it 3 hours long? Should we talk about some other random shit?
Do you know what? We're honestly we're halfway there.
Oh, for God's sake.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
I apologize for wasting your entire Monday. I'm so sorry. But again, if you're not watching this and listening to this at 1.5 times speed, I have to question your podcast listening priorities.
I listen to it at 0.5 speed.
I could not think of anything worse.
I could. We won't go into that.
Right. Thank you as always for joining me. It's been fun. As long as this was, I really did enjoy this one, to be fair.
So,
my name has been Graham.
I've been Jan Lammers.
Wow, very impressive. And
pulled that one out of my arse.
Yeah, well done. I'll give you credit for that one. And
on theme as well. Yeah.
And we shall see you next week.
Goodbye.